Alright. For various reasons, he is love, is creator of all things, he is a provider, caretaker. Okay, so I asked you, why does God deserve to be loved? Okay, so your answers to that are because he is love. Now, that means, well, the answer that he is love, that doesn't explain anything, because you need to explain how he is love, and why do you agree with that concept of love? Because I asked you, why does God deserve to be loved, and why do you love God and want everyone to also? As for I'll admit to a little bit of error here. Why do you approve of the Bible's content? And you said that it teaches men to love God. Why do you approve of the Bible's content? Your answer says it teaches men to love God. Now, how does the Bible teach men to love God? How does that work? That's a question I should have asked. But, yeah, so that was a mistake on my part. It teaches men to love God. I asked you about approval of the Bible's content. You said it teaches men to love God. And I should have asked you again, how does the Bible teach men to love God? And for various reasons, he is the creator of all things. Now, how does him being the creator of all things and I'll get to that in a minute. Being a creator of all things, how does that make him deserving of love? How is that a good thing? Creator of all things. What does that mean? How does that make him worthy of love or be worshipped? Would he have to be a provider if he was a responsible creator? I mean, why does he need to provide? Why does an omnipotent or almighty God, whatever word you want to use, need to provide people or be a caretaker or a healer? Why is all this shit necessary if God is, what the fuck? What if he made us all invincible? Then obviously you'll go into free will and all that bullshit. Well, no, that's not. Free will is not an excuse. That's just a cop-out because you guys, we all know that we're mortal, and you guys know that there's nothing you can do about it. So God is your excuse. God is the fail-safe, or whatever term you want to call it. Severity of punishment or justice matches the love of God. Punishment for what? Justice for what? Sin? Okay, how can sin exist if Adam and Eve were creations of God? Which means that they're actually superior to Jesus Christ because he was born of a mortal woman. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, does it? Again, you'd probably say free will, which a lot of people... I've been asking that question for about a few months now, and that's the common answer I get from Christians. And to that I say, well, two problems there. Why does God need to give us the free will or to choose? Well, how could any of the options be bad or sinful? And how could Adam and Eve be capable of choosing those options? It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, does it? Now you would say, well, again, free will, but how can evil come about in free will if Adam and Eve were creations of God, God being perfect? How does that make any fucking sense? Severity of punishment or justice for what? Again, you point out all this shit, but you don't explain. Also, what does severity of punishment or justice matching the love of God even have to do with my question of why God deserves to be loved, or why do you love God and want everyone to also? Because justice and severity of punishment, what? What does severity of punishment have to do with love? What does justice have to do with love? What the fuck? How do either of those match the love of God? Define love. Nothing hard here. That doesn't make any fucking sense. What do you mean nothing hard here? Not loving God is not a crime, but he who chooses to reject God by default. How is that a crime? You just went from not loving God to rejection. Oh, what the fuck is that? It's the same fucking thing. Well, not entirely. I mean, not loving somebody is not rejection, but why is rejection a crime? How is that a crime? How is that, how does rejecting God call for severe punishment or eternal punishment or justice? Justice for what? How is that a crime? What, because he created all things, is love, is a provider, and all this shit? Wouldn't that be unconditional? And how is he a caretaker or healer if he condemns people to hell? What the fuck is that shit? You are a twisted motherfucker. Is it God's choice to send people to hell? Not really. Okay. This is a common one from you guys. My question to that is, what if I don't make a choice? You'd probably say, well, you have to, right? Why do I have to? Because sin is the default state, which means God already chose for me. He already made the option. I never really perfected this one yet, but yeah, if sin is the default state as we're all born with it, then yes, he does send us to hell, because even if we don't choose, we're still in that. God made the choice for us, technically. So we're forced to choose, but yeah, I gotta work that one out better. But basically, yes, God does send us to hell if this whole thing is real, because we're already born sinful, which is what God hates. So no, you can't have that one. And even if you were right, yeah, we do send ourselves to hell because we would rather go there instead of going to heaven, if that's our only other option, rather than be stuck with fucking psychos like you. How does that make you feel? Free will is just your cop-out. Or it's just the Christian cop-out. It's bullshit. It's nothing. Why did Adam and Eve need free will? Free will to do what? To choose good over evil? Where did the fucking evil come from? God is supposed to be incapable of it, right? Therefore, Adam and Eve should also be being creations of this God. And you don't even define what evil even is. Rejecting God? How the fuck is that evil? And if God is the way, then why does he need hell? Makes no fucking sense. It couldn't have come from free will, because it would have to come from somewhere. If it came from free will, it can't. Where would it come from? It can't come from Adam and Eve. They're created by God. It can't come from God because he's the antithesis of evil and sin. Decide whether to be with God in heaven or to be in hell with the devil. Why do we deserve to be in hell if we don't want to be with God? You talk about choice. Well, why is birth not a choice? Why can't we choose to be born or to not? I mean, obviously, if something was naturally good and appealing, you wouldn't need to force anybody into it. If you say God punishes those who reject him, you must understand what was just said above, and you didn't say anything. You said God is all this, And then severity of punishment and justice matches the love of God. Nothing harder. That's all you said. What's the punishment for? Justice for what? I asked you. Where is it? Why does God deserve to be loved, and why do you love God and want everyone to also? You're not even answering my questions. How is eternal punishment justified for not loving God? How is not loving God a crime? You don't even answer the questions, which is typical of you assholes. And what excuse do you have for not turning away from a life turning away from a life? Why is life destined to hell? Why? For what? What was the crime? You said rejection is, but how is rejection a crime? You don't explain that, do you? All you go on is about fucking choice. Hell for what? Sin? Who caused sin? Where does sin come from? You can't say Adam and Eve now because I already debunked that shit. And again, heaven, okay, check this out. Why would anybody want to go to heaven if everything here we like in this life is a sin, is bad? Why is it even allowed in heaven if it's not allowed here? Of course, you don't even say what is sin. You don't even say what evil is, or what is evil. I could tell you God is evil, but you won't listen to that, because he's the one that punishes for no apparent fucking reason. You are a complete fucking stunned jackass.